Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts and going over some data. And so I'm recording this on Saturday, March 8th. Was looking over some of the charts and some of the data, and Plug Power actually stood out to me as being pretty exciting, so I wanted to go over that. It is about a contract that makes me think that we could be seeing some upside in the coming weeks for Plug Power, which is, of course, ticker symbol PLUG, which closed on Friday, March 7th at a price of $1.78, being up nearly 8% on the day, but then pulling back about 2% in the after hours trading. So here is the chart and some levels that I had previously drawn up on there. I will come back to this in a second, but I wanted to go over to unusual whales to really look at the data, because that is going to inform on whether or not I think this is going up or down and the pathway to get there. So let's flip over to unusual whales over here. This is what stood out to me. This is the premium data for March 7th. You can see over there, and this is for Plug Power. And so the thing that stood out to me, I'm not going to break down everything in this chart, but the thing that stood out to me is the red line. It might stand out to you guys as well. And so that red line is the net put premium. And so what we saw on Friday was right around 243 in the afternoon. The net put premium had come down over the course of that day, up until that point, down to about $28,000. But then just a few minutes later, it plummeted down to, over $336,000 to the downside, to negative. So that suggests selling of puts, which is bullish. And so that would suggest to me, that would make me think that someone is selling cash secured puts, that whatever the strike is, if by the expiration price is lower than that strike, they would get assigned, they would have to buy shares at the strike. But if price is above, that's where this is bullish, then they don't get assigned those shares, and they just collect that premium. So selling cash secured puts is bullish, although, it's not necessarily bullish in the sense that if the price does go down, they're happy to pick up more shares. And so with that being said, this is, a drop of about $300,000. It suggests the selling of $300,000 worth of puts. And if I do slide down here, we can see that the bearish bullish slider is in the favor of the bulls for the day on the 7th. And so what I want to do, because we do see this dramatic drop here in the net put premium, I can dive into, try to find the contract that was sold as, what this would suggest to me. And so I can do that by going over to unusual whales. I'm just going to walk you guys through the process. Go up here to flow data and then go over to flow feed. And I should have done this before. I'm just going to clear the search. So this is all of the tickers. And I'm just going to adjust the time range to be exclusively March 7th. I am going to, scroll this up so Ed is not blocking it. I'm going to type in the minimum premium to be $100,000. So let's see, make sure that's lined up right there with a comma where the cursor is. That is $100,000. And then I'm going to filter it by the ticker PLUG. And so there should just be two contracts there. And so both of them are puts, and one of them is of interest really for the next few weeks. And so that is going to be the top one. And the reason why it's of interest for the next few weeks is because the expiration is March 28th. So, a few weeks until that expiration, about 20 days to expiration. Whereas the other one expired yesterday on March 7th. So whatever happened with that contract, it's probably not going to be that useful. And so let's dive into this contract here so we can look at some of that data. But before I do that, I did just want to point out a couple of things that do stand out to me. And so that is going to be the premiums over here for both of these contracts, over $100,000 based on that filter that I did. So these are big orders. We can also see that in purple here, I believe that means that the number of contracts exceeds the open interest. So with this order, that does suggest something unusual going on. And we can see that the open interest for this contract was just about 600 contracts open. And so this makes me think that while I was mistaken in the GameStop video thinking that these had to have been bought because open interest would have to go up, this was a sell to open. So this is, I believe, a cash secured put, or 10,000 cash secured puts. That would make me think that this is leaning more bullish. And we can see here the chain bid to ask suggests that 10,000, so basically all of this was on the bid side, which would suggest or indicate selling. And then if we look at the tags over here, that bid there, that does suggest that this is bullish, so that this is likely the selling of puts. So anyways, rambling on a bunch about this contract. If I do click on it, we can get kind of this expanded view. And actually for this, I'm going to have Ed move out of the way so we can look at some of the data down here. But in looking at the data up here, so this is for the, I should have mentioned it when we were actually looking at the table over here, both of these are $2 puts. The strike is $2. So this one down here, that closed out of the money because plug closed below $2 a share. But this one up here, that contract that expires March 28th, the strike is $2 cash secured put, being in the money right now. So this is suggesting that this person is betting about $300,000 that the price is going to go up in plug. Or, then they're going to potentially be getting assigned these contracts and having to buy shares at $2 a share. Anyways, enough about that. Let's look at the data over here. So this is, like I was just saying, the $2 strike put that expires in 20 days on March 28th. And so we can see the data here for the day of March 7th. We got this one big red candle there. Candle premium being $300,000 with a volume for that candle of 10,000, which is effectively the daily volume, which was 10,027 contracts traded. And so the daily premium was $300,885. Sorry, $300,885, whereas the candle premium is $300,000. So, like I said, somebody's betting $300,000 on this. And we can see that little alert up there, volume has exceeded open interest. So the volume at this point in the day was, 10,027 contracts, with the open interest being 638. And we can see that data down here in the table that, at the start of the day on the 7th, open interest was 638 contracts, but then the volume traded on Friday was over 10,000. And so what I suspect will be happening based on, this data that we saw over here, this drop in that net put premium, the open interest will go up by about 10,000 contracts going into Monday, but that is going to be sell to open. So while these are puts, you might think that this is bearish. I mistakenly thought that about GameStop, and that just because there was a drawdown here and we see an increase in open interest, that means that, this is a position going short. But no, this is actually going long because there's very little open interest at the start of the day on Friday. But then let's say I got tons of cash in my account. I got $300,000 cash in my account. Hypothetically, I got that much money, and I'm thinking that Plug Power is going to be closing above $2 a share, the strike, 20 days from now. And so if that's the case, then I'm going to get paid this premium of $300,000 for setting aside, let's see, I'm going to pull up the calculator app here so we can get this. So if that strike is $2 and they've opened up 10,000 contracts, let's just type it in here. So 10,000 contracts there times 100 shares. Let's see, times $2. So That is, and then, yeah, times 100 shares per contract. So then they would have to put up $2 million to sell these cash secured puts. So they'd have to have $2 million in their account, set that aside, cash secured put. And then to sell these puts, then they would collect a premium of $300,000. So while they'd have $2 million on the side, they'd really only need to have, let's see, type that in there, $300,000. They'd really only need to have $1.7 million on the side because they'd collect that total premium. If price closes above $2 a share on March 28th, or they exit this position, then they don't have to buy the shares and they just keep that premium of $300,000. So I find this to be really interesting, and this makes me think that this whale, this $300,000 order, is betting that plug is going to be going above $2 a share. And with us closing at $1.78 after taking a nearly 8% move on Friday, I think that we could be starting to see some bullish moves playing out. But before that happens, I do have these two lines to the downside. One is at 160, one is at 157. So what I could see happening before we get a move to the upside to around $2 a share, maybe we get a pullback to retest 160, and then we head up to around $2 a share, maybe going higher than it, maybe going lower than it. Sorry for my ugly arrow there. But that is kind of what I could see happening with that. And so I just wanted to go over these levels to the downside, why I think we could be retesting them. And so over here, I do have $1.57 marked, which was the low on February, 12th, low of $1.57. Did act as some support over here, so I do think that's a notable level. But then once we broke below it, we got this pretty nasty wick down. And yeah, let's see. I guess that was around earnings. I think I have $1.34 marked there with an alert, because I think there was some pre-market trading. Let's see, just flip over to the 1 hour that came down to, yeah, $1.34. And so I was thinking, well, if we do retest that level, I might try to add more to my position. But as you can see, we have not come down to $1.34. We have a low of $1.37. And I think that was kind of a sweep of the lows. While we have been putting in lower lows that might seem kind of bearish, I think there's something that actually looks bullish if we take a step back that you guys might be excited about. But anyways, yeah, I think that this was kind of a sweep of the lows, shaking any weak hands out. I think that we will get a retest of right around 160. But before I zoom out too much, I should note that the 21-day moving average is around 169, 69 being a fun level there. So $1.69, maybe we don't pull back to 160, maybe 169 before we continue higher. So maybe something to keep in mind there. But taking a step back, we can see that there was this prior low that was the low from September 6th of $1.60. So that's why I got that 100% retracement there. And so looking at this on the bigger picture time frame, I think that what we've put in here is some bullish divergence, because what we see is, on the shorter term time scale, we see lower lows. But what do we see in the RSI? It's effectively been flat. Those lows have more or less been right around the same level. So maybe there's some weak bullish divergence there, that we're seeing a divergence in the lower lows in the stock price versus the flat lows and the RSI, but it's, weak. It's a weak bullish divergence, so nothing to be going on about. But looking at it over here, we can see that we have lower lows very clearly in the stock price. But if we look at the RSI, when we hit the lows on September 6th, the RSI was at 28.68. So just getting into that oversold territory below an RSI of 30. And now look at the RSIs that we've seen as we've been putting in, basically flat RSIs with a low of 32.92, 33.82, and 33.84. So that tells me that this was a sweep of the lows, that we're seeing bullish divergence, and that we might actually see this start to rally up to right around where that 50-day moving average is. It looks like that is at a price of $2.06, right around $2 a share, corresponding with that put that was sold as a cash secured put, as far as I can tell, which is bullish and or a way to pick up more shares at $2 a share, if price resides lower than that. So that person is betting $300,000 that plug is worth at least $2 a share. Maybe we go higher than that. We do have the 200-day moving average here. That is at 226, or right around 226, 227, also corresponding with this orange line, which I have marked there, which was the low from January 18th of 2024. Got a bounce there before moving up to here. And so that might be acting as some resistance, but we could potentially get going past that level if we are able to break above 2. I think $3 has been a pretty notable level of resistance, as we did wick up to and get a couple days above $3 over here, January 6th and 7th, but we did get rejected. It looks like this Fibonacci extension, that 100% move, so effectively the move from here to here, then translated from that same distance from here to here, was at 319, got rejected there before a pretty nasty pullback coming down from that level to a low of about 57% to the downside, now about 44% down from that level. And I do also have this alert marked here at $3 a share. But, another thing I got to point out before I do close this video is this purple downtrend, which over here I had suggested based on a comment. I did a follow-up video. Somebody pointed this out, that this might be an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. So that purple line is the neckline. And from that neckline, from the base of that head or the top of that inverse head, we can take a measurement going straight up to that neckline with that middle point being marked. A measured move would have brought us up to right around $3 a share. And so we got that played out. But then from there, we did get rejected. Lots of levels suggesting, or a lot of patterns, indicators suggesting at that time that we would be seeing $3 a share. We did see that, and I'm sure that a lot of people were probably panicking with us putting in lower lows, $1.37 now being the 52-week low. But I do think that we could be moving higher. But part of the reason why I did not extend this arrow all the way up to around $2 a share is because I think that there's going to be a lot of resistance around $2 a share. And with that downtrend being there, we might see some consolidation here, or maybe a rejection and a pullback. And before I forget, I almost forgot, I wanted to just very quickly mention the max pain for the coming weeks. So for this past Friday, so yesterday, March 7th, max pain was $2 a share. Of course, we closed below that, so that's not really that great of a look. But coming up Pi Day, March 14th, max pain is $1.50. And currently, we are trading above $1.50. So if we are able to close above $1.50, if we're able to close this coming Friday, March 14th, above $2 a share, I think that we could be potentially getting into gamma squeeze territory, and maybe that launches us back up to $3 a share. But I suspect that market makers will want Plug Power to be closing right around $1.50, which is about a 15 to 16% downside move from where we're currently at. So do expect some resistance there. If we are starting to trend towards, let's say, maybe $2 a share, that might be a fake out. Maybe we get dragged back down to 150. Or if we see ourselves pulling back to around 150, know that there is a whale that's got 300,000 setting 2 million on the side, or 1.7 million on the side, betting that Plug is going to be going higher. And so maybe that's a little bit of a fake out, a little bit of a shakeout. before we potentially get up to around $2 a share. But I should note the following week, so the 21st, max pain is $2. March 28th, with the expiration for those puts, the max pain is $1.50, and the following 2 weeks after that expiration, all of those 3 weeks, $1.50. So if we're closing above $2 in the coming weeks, I think that there's a lot of potential for there to be a gamma squeeze going on. And so if we get rejected around 2 in the coming 2 weeks, may not be such a big deal, because if we start to close above 150, well above that, above $2, I think that we could be in gamma squeeze territory and potentially revisiting $3 a share. So any little pullbacks that we see in the coming weeks, I think that those are going to be dip buying opportunities, and I will be sure to give you guys an update if this contract that was just sold as a cash secured put, if that does get bought back, the open interest does come back, which would be a buy to close, I believe, then I will be sure to give you guys an update. But since that was just opened or sold to open, I think that there's a lot of upside potential for Plug Power, and so I am excited about that. But as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, you guys.